Would you describe for Harvard Office for the Arts readers and viewers your approach to jazz, which has been termed as post-bop? I have recently been researching Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie's innovations in bebop, and for instance how Gershwin's I Got Rhythm was employed in bebop improvisation. Bebop has been described as intellectually demanding music, and Dave Lang has written that bebop, as music to be listened to, rather than an accompaniment for dancing, gave credence to the idea that jazz deserved recognition as one of the arts, as concert music, as a quintessential American form of classical music. Can you tell our readers of your post-bop approach to jazz? Is this a reinvention of bebop?
Well, that's quite an achievement on my part, I guess, because primarily being someone that was practically raised in the African-American church in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where gospel prevailed, excuse me, and where at that particular time rhythm and blues were just the rather convenient types of entertainment for kids, such as myself at the time, in the 50s and 60s. That says that when I first approached my instrument, those qualities of thinking prevailed so far as my playing. And but upon entering college, Central State College in southwestern Ohio, I entered this was in the mid-50s, I entered an environment that was just new in appreciating bebop, which I knew nothing about before I arrived, and I knew nothing about Charlie Parker. I knew nothing about Dizzy Gillespie as a young kid from that described part of the world. And yeah, bebop was something measurably at that particular time that was studied and revered, if you will, and quite creatively promising, you know, for us young folks who were delving into that kind of thinking. For me, there was a sort of an opening of my, if you call it, intellectuality towards other things to do past rhythm and blues and the gospel, etc. That took place. And for instance, yeah, a specific memorable moment touched me. I was playing on the outskirts of Dayton, Ohio, with the great prominent trombonist Booty Woods, who was the top trombonist of Count Basie and Duke Ellington. He was one that played first trombone with both, and just was an amazing player. And at the time, I didn't understand what Charlie Parker was doing or what Dizzy Gillespie was doing. Everybody said that they were like bebopping and having, you know, success, you know, innovating and creating promise for other things to do in the future. And but when I heard Charlie Parker, it didn't touch me. So at this club, when we were performing, I remember sitting at the bar, excuse me, having a glass of beer. The jukebox, then in those days they had jukeboxes, was sitting right, it was located right to my rear, and Charlie Parker was playing. You know, guys had pointed out to me, that's Bird, that's Bird, that's Bird. And nothing. So anyway, that same night, Teesaw, who was the guy, Juan Teesaw, who was the guy that composed Caravan, was playing that night too, participating in a 4-trombone quartet. That was featured as part of this group, that group. And he approached me and said, Cecil, I heard that Charlie Parker died today. And something about his energy and his tears, so to speak, touched me. And all of a sudden, I heard what Bert was doing to the rear of me. I said, oh my God, that's who he was. So then that opened my eyes towards, to who Charlie Parker, how he would help me advance to the next level. I really actually heard the beauty of what he was doing, although I didn't understand. So I began studying to answer your question. And so I learned afterwards that basically it's, if you want to think about innovations, if you want to look at qualities of tones, qualities of things to do and so forth, spontaneous improvisation is concerned. It's all about how you treat the tones in the immediate scale that you have. See, we all know that the blues is what started the whole deal and so forth, appreciation of improvised music after the dance, from the old boogie woogie, et cetera, to bebop. The blues is always characteristic of tones being lowered. Most tones are lowered. During the old boogie woogie fancy of the 40s and 50s, there was added to the major scale a minor seventh tone. And then later on, Miles Davis introduced the flatted five. The major seventh was initially moved down a half step to the minor seventh. Then Miles introduced the flatted five. The top, the fifth tone, moved down to the raised four tone. And then the nine was flatted. So most tones are lowered, and that would excite types of motion creatively, improvisationally, momentarily, moment to moment, given the harmonic situation and the melodic concept. Whereas bebop tends to raise tones and combine lower and raised tones. The combinations of those two open doors for other more, as you say, I am one who is sort of post-bebop. So I'm one that explores all tonalities. There are only 12 tones that are at our mercy, and I'm one who has advised, at least through my playing, the world at large that appreciates me, that the 12 tones, that the blues itself is America's 12-tone technique. Because within the blues, given combinations of lowering and raising tones at various convenient moments, you can use everything. So I delve more into those promises of momentary creativity as opposed to more stationary things.